Alrighty, we're going to start the burner with the thermostat. We're going to check the flame if possible. See how it's burning initially. Going to see if the control will tell us the ohms, and we're going to shut the burner off. We're going to inspect the oil line. This is an overhead line, so we already know that we can recommend a Tiger Loop. It has an old FB4, so it needs a filter update. We're going to check the bottom of the tank. So now before we do anything, we're going to put rags down and we're going to hook up our pressure gauge. Make sure it's tight. We're going to take our meter, we're going to turn it on and turn it to continuity and check to make sure that our leads are connected. Then we're going to open our transformer. We're going to spin the fan wheel, see if it's free, see how it looks. And then we're going to check the air tube. There's some carbon built up here, usually assigned to Z dimension is not set correctly. We're going to check our igniter according to manufacturer's specifications. It is different for Beckett and Carlin. And we're going to take our control off and we're going to find the neutral wire of our burner motor and hook our clamp meter to it. I'm going to take a look at the drawer assembly, see how the electrodes look, see how the nozzle adapter looks, look at the overall condition of the J-tube and all the components of it. We're going to start the unit and check the oil pump pressure and check the amp draw on the burner motor at the same time. We're going to bleed some oil through our pressure gauge, and then we're going to watch the cutoff as it shuts down. We're also listening to the burner motor and looking for any abnormal noise. I'm going to restart it and recheck the pressure and cutoff again and the amp draw. And we're also going to ensure that the burner control locks out on safety. We're going to pull our burner motor out to take a better look at the fan and the coupling. We're also going to check the pump seal, see if there's any oil inside the chassis. So now we've checked pretty much every component of the burner in only a few minutes. And should we recommend updating the burner? So before we talk to the customer, we're going to drop the oil filter, inspect the canister, inspect the bolts. This old FB4 should be updated. If it's an A filter, we're looking for the epoxy on the inside of the canister to make sure that's still intact. If it's missing or starting to corrode away, the canister needs to be replaced or the filter needs to be updated. Don't clean the canister with anything other than oil. A lot of the cleaners can actually take the epoxy off and weaken it. So right now, this is where we maybe want to go talk to the customer about updating the filter, the canister to a new one, a new A filter. And these are some talking points. So that would be the first point of thing to replace. So whatever the customer decides, we're going to put the filter back together and we're going to bleed it. We're also going to replace all of the gaskets. Make sure everything is tight. Open up the Firematic, listen for any hissing or look for any leaks. Bleed air out until you get oil from the bleeder. Make sure it's appropriately tightened and then clean. Clean up the oil on it. Use powder to dry it. You really want to make sure the canister is dry, the whole filter is dry. I like to put powder on my hands and then touch the bottom of the canister to see if I'm getting any oil residue on my hands. So before we go and talk to the customer about updating the burner or all the parts, let's take it apart and vacuum it to make it look like we're spending a little more time in the basement. We don't just want to walk in and then 5 minutes later walk up to the customer and tell them they need a new burner. It looks like we're just trying to sell them a burner. Leaving all of the testing components on the burner, the pressure gauge and your meter. I wouldn't leave the burner motor off, but that allows you to, if the customer asks, you can show them how each part is failing. So we always want to take the flue pipe down to check the chimney, and we also want to check the inside of the boiler to see if it needs to be brushed, which it does in this case because it's been a few years since I've cleaned my burner and boiler. Putting the hose in the site door will give us a little bit of suction so we're not breathing in so much dust as we're brushing the heat exchanger out. Quickly brush the flue pipe, give it a bang on the ground, bang it with your brush. Now we're going to reassemble the boiler. We ought to make sure the draft regulator is very clean all the dust off of it as much as possible. Customer will come down and that's the place they will look inside the boiler to see if you did anything. And make sure you put all the screws back in. We're going to open up the combustion chamber door and vacuum out all the debris in there. Give the sides a brush. You got to be very careful. We don't want to damage the chamber at all, but we do want to get all that stuff out of there. Now is the time that we would go talk to the customer about replacing parts or upgrading the burner. Give them various options from replacing parts to replacing the entire burner. I'm going to replace the strainer. We're going to adjust our electrodes before changing the nozzle because we don't want to rub that gauge all over the face of it. I'm going to quickly spray down and scrub the tips of our electrodes in our drawer assembly. And then we're going to clean out the J-tube with some breakaway. We're going to get the nozzle that was in it, and then we're also going to make sure that the nozzle in the container is the nozzle we're putting in. We're going to clean out that air tube of all that carbon, and we're also checking the end cone, making sure that it's secure on the end of the blast tube. And then we're going to reassert our drawer assembly and put the thumb screw on. We're going to check our Z dimension by reopening the chamber door. And we're going to use the T gauge or the Z gauge to check our Z dimension. We're going to slide the drawer assembly forward until it touches the bottom of the T gauge. And then we're going to tighten it and lock it back in position. We're going to bleed the air from the system. And we're going to bleed our oil line until we get a solid flow of oil out of our bleeder port. Once all the air has been bled out, we're going to close our bleeder. And we're going to run some oil through our pressure gauge. This will clear out the strainer and the jet line of any debris that got loosened during the tune-up. Going to put our jet line back on. We're going to tighten down the latches on the transformer. And we're going to refire the unit. We're going to check our fire. We're going to check our fire. And then move on to our combustion testing. We're going to check the draft and adjust the draft regulator and then perform a smoke test. We're going to adjust the burner as necessary based on what we get as a result of our smoke test. We keep performing smoke tests until we get 0 smoke on our smoke scale. And then we're going to insert our combustion analyzer and adjust for maximum efficiency. We're going to check our oil filter one last time to make sure it's dry. And we're good to go.